Hey everyone, and welcome back. Now today I want to talk about HBAR because HBAR has been one that we've kind of talked about in several kind of bit parts in different episodes or different videos that we've done, but I've never actually done a video purely on Hedera and kind of what they're doing, some potential price predictions, how they could end up in this later bear or this later bull market. Are we heading into a bear market? Any of that type of stuff, we don't know. But I want to talk a little bit more about if this could potentially be a fantastic time to buy some Hedera if you maybe got caught out on kind of missing that pump back in November. Obviously prices held very, very well since then. We are kind of starting to see the first signs of maybe that support falling down and allowing us to potentially get a better entry into the Hedera ecosystem if that is something that we've been eyeing for a while. That's something that I personally have been eyeing a little bit, and potentially also the news with ICP that we did see come out a couple weeks ago, perhaps kind of strengthening my reasoning to maybe accumulate some. So I want to talk a little bit about that, discuss also kind of what we've seen within the market so far. If you have been kind of paying attention to the overall market, we're going to discuss kind of how things are looking. Starting out, we'll take a look at crypto bubbles. We can see, yes, this is what we've been seeing today. This is what we would normally see as like a move on the week, but this is just happening today. Things looking really, really rough out there. We can see HBAR down 22.2% just today, Arbitrum 28, ICP 24, Fetch 27, VeChain 26, Tau 21. We can see Ethereum down 20%. I mean, some really, really insane moves to the downside. If we look to the week, I mean, even bigger bubbles for some, but a lot of these, most of the losses being made up just from what we've seen today. So a really, really punishing crash and a move to the downside. If we do just take a super quick look through kind of the market overview, RSI heat map, I mean, the total market is basically sitting in oversold. Historically, when the market looks to be in an oversold position like this, this is usually maybe a good point to get in, just because we always see that, it does come back to neutral. It doesn't always come back immediately, but it does usually come back over time. We can see liquidation maps all favoring a move to the upside, basically just because all liquidations on the long side, or I guess the long side has been liquidated. And so basically the only other way to find money is to go back up. Also coming back into low neutral, potentially we do see a move down into fear on the fear and greed index, which I do think is maybe a little bit warranted. Right now also $2.2 billion wrecked in the past 24 hours, an absolutely insane amount of money wiped from the ecosystem. We can see here Ethereum kind of being the one leading the way. We actually can see HBAR down here, $8.3 million liquidated, so a pretty decent chunk, obviously nothing in comparison to some of these other larger ones. But if we do look at price, it's very, very clear to see. I mean, the price is dipping, and it's dipped quite substantially. I did put a couple levels of support and resistance here. We can see probably the major level of support would have been down like this 23 cents range. We are close, or we are below that. We actually have seen a wick far below that down to like the 18-cent range. And I think kind of the next major level of support would be kind of in this range. I'm calling it like a zone here just because we saw a whole bunch of wicks in every direction here. And this would be between like the 14, or I guess I should say like 15 to 17 cent range overall. That's kind of what we're looking at. I do think it's a possibility we make it back down here, or maybe we kind of come back up into this and this wick kind of just stays as like this massive wick. I mean, $2.2 billion, that is wild. So I do think it makes sense that we've seen such a huge wick. Also, again, as we've kind of been talking about, we're always kind of trying to build our argument one direction or the other as to what could happen. Again, this is daily. So remember, the daily is not going to be super reactive. If we look at the hourly, I mean, we're going to see some of this stuff is just like disgustingly oversold. We can see hitting lows here of like 17, which is just ridiculous. We can see overall, the market's sitting very, 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 very oversold. But if we look at the daily, usually this stuff is not that reactive. So when we start to see things getting oversold on the Bollinger Bands, creeping outside the Bollinger Bands on the daily, and even getting oversold on the daily down here, that there's probably a little bit of an extreme move, right? And so we're probably, again, no guarantees as to when, but we're probably going to be seeing a move back into the Bollinger Bands, as well as a kind of a return back to normal for the RSI as well. The Bollinger Bands kind of being a more immediate indicator. I mean, this usually we don't see these staying out for more than a handful of days at a time. So, I mean, probably 2 or 3 days from now, we're going to be back into the Bollinger Bands. Part of that's going to be, a function of seeing these bands really start to stretch super wide, but then also price maybe leveling out, maybe even just dropping less quickly, or even seeing a bounce. Obviously, bounce being the ideal situation here, but that's mainly kind of what we're looking at with this. Again, I'm not your financial advisor. I do not know for certain, but again, all signs point to in the past when we see something like this, it's a good time to buy. Now, is today right now a good time to go 50x long on HBAR or anything else for that matter? Probably not, right? I mean, you could get lucky and be right and make a whole bunch of money. Usually those are the people that do make a whole bunch of money, but those are also the people who lose a whole bunch of money because in the off chance that they are wrong, or potentially even in the likely chance that they are wrong, they get liquidated, right? And so there's a lot of things going on there that we need to be super, super careful of. What we are seeing right now in the market, though, is overall just everything looks oversold. I do think in time we are going to see the market kind of find itself, and a lot of this type of stuff, I think the emotion just kind of gets overwhelming and some crazy things happen that really shouldn't. And I think that's a lot of what we are seeing here. If you are interested, though, in trading some of this volatility, maybe trying to, start to build up that long position, DCA in. I mean, if you're a DGen and you want to go super hard on leverage and potentially try to make a ton, you're welcome to do that too. Probably would not recommend that. Actually, I would say definitely would not recommend that at this point in time, just because it is super, super risky. But if you are, like I said, looking to trade and start to build up some of those HBAR positions, or maybe some other altcoins that you've been looking at, as we checked on crypto bubbles, everything is down big. So we do have those 10% bonus on first time deposits. If you do check the link in the description below to use BTCC, they also are doing extra bonuses of up to $10,055 per user. So definitely a really nice thing to do there. And then also no VPN or KYC necessary. Again, they do have leverage options, but you need to be very, very careful. As you can see, if it's not already obvious when we looked at the chart, a ridiculous amount of volatility coming in right here. So obviously with this type of volatility, even if you're directionally correct, if you're playing leverage too heavily, you can lose anyway, right? So you just have to be very, very careful with that. But one thing I did want to take a look at is like talking about Hedera. Since we haven't really looked at it too seriously on this channel before, I wanted to take a general look of like, well, what is it? Why is this something that could potentially be worth DCAing into, or potentially starting a position? A lot of that type of stuff. One thing that we can see here on X is Sean Soley made a post. We can see not a single whale sold their HBAR during the correction. Again, maybe they sold some, right? But they definitely haven't dropped out of these different categories. We can see here, if we look, going 100,000 HBAR, number only going up as time goes on, number only going up as time goes on, number going down a little bit, but then kind of back to where it was, and then number staying the same here. So what we can see is, people not selling their HBAR. They're holding on to it for dear life. They're very, very convicted. At least the whales are in what they hold, which is obviously a really good thing to see. We also can see here, same with Bitcoin. That's kind of the top thing here. I think the thing that we should take away from this, and this is just a larger commentary on the crypto and altcoin market more generally, is I think the thing that we should take away from this here is you need to find quality projects, right? The people who hold quality projects know what they hold, and they're not going to be wiped out by some of these, leverage wicks, or, fear of not knowing what they hold, or how some larger market thing could affect them. Like, they don't care about any of that. That's all just noise in the signal that they found, which is, this is a good project, right? That this type of thing that we're seeing here with the HBAR whales, obviously there's a fair few of people here in HBAR that are highly convicted in what they hold, which is obviously a really, really good thing to see. And these are not people that are going to be shaken out by seeing a couple red candles here and there, right? We actually can see whales increasing on HBAR, which makes total sense, right? I mean, when you're seeing things, I talked about this in my last video as well. When you see this happen, if you're truly convicted in the project that you hold, if you're willing to buy up here or here or here or here or here or anywhere in this range, why would you not buy it down here or there? Like, this is pretty simple stuff to me, at least in my mind. It's like, if you are convicted in something that you hold, you obviously would be buying more when we start to see some of these red wicks, because it's a free discount. You're getting rid of, all these paper hens that are all too emotional, or maybe using too high of leverage, all that type of stuff. They're getting washed out because they don't really understand. They're just trying to make a quick buck, but you understand what you hold, so you're accumulating more and getting it on a discount, which is obviously fantastic. So one thing I did, again, want to talk about a little bit more with Hedera. They have their whole website. Obviously, if you are interested, there's how it works, a whole bunch of stuff, dashboards, all that type of stuff. But one thing that actually really kind of stood out to me specifically, that I do think is pretty bullish with Hedera, and one reason I'm looking at it pretty closely, is they have this asset tokenization studio. The asset tokenization studio, I think, is really cool, because they're essentially trying to build a format or a framework in which companies can come on and tokenize assets and securities. I think we all can agree, maybe not, but I would say it's a pretty safe comment to make, that RWA is going to be a very, very, very key part of crypto, probably within the next 5 to 10 years time, if I had to guess. And so, having a chain that is basically trying to cater exactly to that. It's also an American company. I know there's been a lot of narratives about, American crypto companies really doing quite well over the next probably 4 years, just based on what the current administration is doing. After that, we'll have to see, kind of what the next administration does after that. But overall, what we are seeing here is, they're really trying to lean into this like tokenization of assets, falling under U.S. regulations, simplifying the tokenization product. Like, to me, the falling under the regulations is something that's very important here. There's a whole bunch of tokenized assets, low fees. I mean, this is all exactly what we want to see here. Another thing from Hedera is they do use the block DAG structure. So it's the directed acyclic graph instead of a blockchain. Pretty unique and interesting technology, similar to Caspa, for those of you who may be familiar with Caspa but not HBAR. Pretty interesting situation. And so they are doing a lot of, I would say, really useful, valuable, and unique things within the crypto ecosystem. Obviously, I'm an ICP bull as well. I'm super bullish on ICP. We know that HBAR and ICP have actually started working together in a partnership. I think this is amazing news. I'm really excited to see what can happen here. I think ICP has a lot of that like fundamental or like foundational infrastructure. It does allow them access to, Bitcoin and Ethereum and all those types of things through like the chain key cryptography, which obviously is a super big thing for ICP. But also it just like, Hedera maybe could have built something like that, right? But ICP, I think, it allows them to expand their ecosystem and really kind of bolster some parts of their project that may be a little bit more lacking, or what we would have seen, or what could have taken them a lot of time or money that they now don't have to do anymore because they're partnered with a strong crypto project. And so I do think we are going to see a continued level of that. Obviously, the HBAR team seems very competent. The ICP team, in my opinion, seems very competent. We'll see kind of how that goes. But overall, I think kind of leveraging other chains to expand your reach and expand the speed of your reach, more important than anything else, I think is going to be very, very important, particularly accessing a lot of the liquidity in Ethereum. I know there's been a lot of concerns and shakiness surrounding Ethereum and how it potentially unfolds in this bull run. Obviously, it has not performed at all like I think anybody was expecting it to. I think it was just kind of a consensus pick that Ethereum was going to be doing really, really well in this bull market. Again, that just goes to show you what happens when picks seem consensus and how those usually end up playing out. But there is still a ton of money on Ethereum, and that cannot be understated. And so that's something that I think, maybe HBAR is trying to take a little bit of a bite at the apple there, and they are using ICP to kind of unlock some of that tech. So yeah, I'm very, very interested to see what HBAR does. Obviously, we're seeing a massive dip today on HBAR. If this is something that you are interested in, maybe today's a good idea. Today would be a good time to take a look at that a little bit more closely. Do your research. Obviously, you'd have to do it quick, just because usually these types of dips don't last too long. But again, who knows? Maybe this is just the beginning of the larger bear market. I'd be very surprised, but anything is possible. It is crypto. So anyway, like I said, not financial advice. You're an adult. You need to make your own decisions with your own money. I didn't work to earn that money. You did, so you should definitely be the one most concerned about protecting it. Obviously, I'm not trying to lead anybody down a false road, but I just don't know, right? I mean, I'm obviously making actions I'm taking actions that I believe in, and I'm essentially doing the things that I say. But if I'm wrong, like, I obviously suffer for that. You don't need to as well if you don't believe me, right? I mean, this is something where you need to take ownership for your own actions. And so, part of that is just doing your own research, making sure that you understand, like, maybe you agree with what I'm saying, maybe you don't. The only way you're going to know for sure is if you do your own research and kind of figure that out for yourself, right? Which I'm always a huge proponent of. I always love your comments as well. I mean, there's some of you who I can tell are doing their own research, because a lot of you provide really, really super insightful comments. And so with that said, if you do have any comments, questions, concerns, just want to rant in my comment section because you're mad that crypto's going down and not up, totally welcome. Just drop those in the comment section below. I do try to read and respond to all of those. So if you have anything you want me to see, that'd be a great way to do it. Also, if you did enjoy this information, find it useful, helpful, all that type of stuff, think other people should see it, please do like, and also give me a subscribe and turn on the notification bell just so you can see when I do release more videos. I'm always trying to release, I do release daily content. I'm always trying to release good, insightful, and informative videos to hopefully help you navigate the crypto market a little bit better. So anyway, thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next one.